Welcome, 16-bit hockey fans, to another edition of the NHL 94 podcast. I'm Len the Legend, and it's been a little while since I've done this. I've been on hiatus, very busy, but hopefully we'll be back at it, cranking out some episodes on a regular basis. For this particular rip, I had a chat with Chaos, John, and he has been diving deep into the code of NHL 94, specifically on the Sega Genesis. And I've chatted with him. There's a multi-part series, this one here. So this one is specifically designed to talk about the code responsible for the offensive and defensive awareness, something which has been a little bit, or actually quite a bit of a mystery for all these many years. Finally, it has been solved exactly what it is offensive and defensive awareness does for each player. Is it worth something you should be looking at? I'll give you a spoiler here, probably not, but nonetheless, you may want to listen to it to make your own decision, your own determination. Secondly, we talk about player positioning. Now, for the people that are listening to this, my apologies. The player positioning portion is much better for a video side of things. I'd recommend watching this on YouTube. Did our best to try to make this as audio friendly as possible. However, there are videos and GIFs and pictures and so forth. So it's hard to capture this on an audio format. Either way, on the audio side of things, we did our best. Hopefully you enjoy it. If not, you may want to transition to watching it on video. So with that being said, sit back, hope you enjoy, and get your paper and pen ready because there's going to be a lot to talk about. Not only in this episode, but in the next one coming up. All right, today I'm joined by Chaos, and I think Chaos, the last time we spoke was about a year ago, March of last year. So it's been 13 months since we've last chat. Basically, how's it going? Because it's been forever since I chatted with you last.
Yeah, wow, I didn't realize it was that long ago. Yeah, that's been a while.
Yeah,
over a year older,
wiser,
look a year
better,
younger,
or worse. Yeah, I don't know what to describe it, but it's a journey in our NHL 94 experience, and
it is.
mine seems to hit an abrupt wall lately, which is it's okay. We'll work around it.
Yeah, I am
climbing over.
Not doing much better either. So,
well, you're in a different class than me, so let's not even try to compare.
I don't know about that. Might be in the wrong class.
Okay, yes. The reason why I brought you on is, well, there's a variety of reasons, and you've done a lot of good work digging into the code. And this is the code with respect to NHL 94 on the Genesis. You have not done any analysis on the Super Nintendo, or maybe limited at best. Is that correct?
No, I haven't done anything. I mean, I've assisted, but right now the only assembly code I know is Motorola 68000. That's what I've been staring at for the past year. And for the Genesis. Yeah.
Very thankful you have been doing that.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's just a different beast. McMarcus is the other guy who's been he's done some work on Super Nintendo, but that's eventually I might get there.
Focus on the Genesis, please, because you know what? That's what I played primarily. So I'm very selfish in that regard, and I want to like build and learn more what's under the hood, but also add one feature that we'll be talking about today. And I think you know what it is, but we won't get into that right now. But Chaos, I know you've done a lot in the past year, and this is well documented, but for a lot of folks that may have missed it, like, we're going to go through these subjects one at a time. And I think the number one that we should be bringing up and talking about is your analysis on stuff like awareness and player assignments, because I find this to be fascinating for wingers, for centers, especially for centers that are going down. Like the goal they're trying to shoot is the down goal. And defensively, their defensive position is quite odd and how they started. Like, I want to hear how it is you figured out what's going on under the hood with respect to the player assignments and awareness for the winger, centers, and maybe the defensemen.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the biggest mysteries of NHL 94 has been the offensive defensive awareness attributes. What do they do? No one knows what they did. I think Mark Lesser was asked in an interview, and he said like they kind of, him and Michael Brook, I think they both said it's kind of like a circle area around your player where they're aware of it, and that's not what I found. So,
Are you saying it's a load of crap? Is that what you're trying to tell
yeah,
me?
and listen, I don't expect them to remember, a 30-year-old video game. It's, I'm sure they worked on a bunch of other things, and not only that, but Jim Simmons is really the guy who made this code. So let me just backtrack a little bit. We have the NHL 92 source code, which is the first version of EA Hockey, and so we've been using that to basically reverse engineer NHL 94. And so, when you look at the source code, you see all of Jim Simmons, who was the programmer for NHL, for EA Hockey, NHL 92, also for John Madden football. You can see when you look at the code for the decompiled code for NHL 94, which is all we have to work on, it's very, very similar. So, I would say 90% of the code is the same. Obviously there's some changes here and there, iterative changes between 92, 93, 94, but most of it is Jim Simmons' work. And you could see what like Mark Lesser added as well. But the assignments, the offensive and defensive awareness, that's all the same. That's all carried over. They added there's a few things added, and I don't know if it was added in 93 or if it was added in 94, but there are a couple changes, but it's nothing major. But yeah, okay. So the assignments are what the CPU player is supposed to be doing. So it could be a CPU player on a CPU controlled team. It could be a CPU player on your team. You're only controlling one player on the ice. The other 5 are controlled by the AI or CPU, whatever you want to call it. So they have specific logic depending on where the puck is located on the rink. The defensive and offensive awareness come into play, where the defensive awareness, they're used as timers. And it's, if you really think about, you think about the word awareness, you think about reaction, right? You're reacting to a situation. That's exactly what they're doing. Defensive awareness is used as a timer to prepare the player to switch between offense and defense, depending on what they're doing. So each skater, not the goalie, has specific offensive and defensive assignments, and throughout the game they're cycling through these. They're either playing offense or they're playing defense, depending on who has the puck. Or if the puck is loose, it's always they're always on defense. The goalie's a little bit different. We can get into that later on, but all the other assignments, there's a whole list of them. Like, when you score, that's an assignment. What are you going to do when the player scores? When you win the Stanley Cup at the end of the game, that's another assignment. Breakaway is an assignment. Going to the penalty box, going to the bench, coming out of the penalty box, doing nothing, face-offs, all those things are all different assignments, but they're all pretty much temporary, right? The offense, your player's always doing something, and it's usually either offense or defense. So the defensive awareness is used for the timer, for the player to decide, to give the player once the timer. Let me retrack it. The awareness is used as a timer, whereas when the timer is up, the player can. The game will check if it's time to switch to offense for the player. So a player with lower awareness is going to have a longer timer, so they're going to be less reactive to a turnover, for instance, right? If you have it in the offensive zone and the puck gets turned over, it's a player with the lower awareness is going to take them longer to realize that. Okay. The offensive awareness comes into play when the puck is loose. And it's only there's 2 instances where offensive awareness is used. When the puck is loose and it's only assigned to a special player who's closest to the puck. We call it the actual name of it is called Ass Nearest. This is a special assignment for a player who's the closest to the loose puck. or on defense, it's the closest defender to the puck carrier. And the only other time offensive awareness is used, which is kind of weird, is defensemen will use offensive awareness when their team has the puck in the offensive zone. So if you actually look, if you pay attention, your defensemen track. They'll move when the puck moves. If you're carrying the puck, let's say you're on the left side of the rink and you start to move towards the center, your left, let's say you're shooting up. So your left defenseman's on the left side, your right defenseman on the right. Your left defenseman will follow you until you get halfway to the center of the ice in X, and then your right side defenseman will follow you. So that's offensive awareness. So in that situation, in a case of a turnover puck, when you have it on offense, the defenseman is using their offensive awareness to decide if it's time to switch to defense. So it's very interesting because it doesn't really make sense. But defensemen are the only ones that use offensive awareness in a normal situation. So yeah, that's awareness, right? So it's basically just a timer. And each of these assignments, so, wingers have wingers have an offensive defensive assignment, center, offense, defense, defensemen have an offense and defense assignment. The wingers are usually the most active because they're always skating. They're always going to be closest to the on defense. They're going to always be the player closest to the puck on defense, whereas your centers usually stay on defense. They'll stay like in the high slot area. And on offense, the wingers usually stay down low. Well, they don't usually, they always stay down low. And it's pretty interesting. All the positions actually have like boxes that they're assigned to. If they're on offense and the puck is in the blue, the puck is in the offensive zone, your wingers are going to go very close to the goal line, between the goal line and the face-off circle, and they'll be in that range. The area in that range is randomized, but they're always in a specific area. Your centers are usually right up in the slot. Again, the position, there's a box. You can use picture an imaginary box, and then their position inside that box is randomized. And the defensemen are always on offense. The defensemen are always near the blue line. When the puck's like in the neutral zone, usually your wingers will stay close to the blue line to prepare to cross over once the puck crosses over, things like that. So, I mean, we can go into every single one separately if you want, like go into more detail with you. I don't know, maybe we can even do like a screen share. I can show you some.
I just wanted to break it really quick, right? There's a question I have for you with respect to the defensive awareness and the cycling when it finishes and restarts again if you're still on defense versus what's the difference between a low defensive awareness versus a high? Like, what's the difference in terms of the cycle? Is it extraordinarily different, or is it just minutely? Like, is it we're talking half a second or more than half a second?
Yeah. So it's not as large as you think. But a player who has a 6 defensive awareness, which would be the highest in the game, you can't get any higher than 6. The attribute scale is 0 to 6. Has their timer is twice as short as a player who has a 0 defensive awareness. So you think of it that way. We're talking frames here. So on the scale of frames, I think a 0 defensive awareness player it's about a 15 frame counter, and then the 6 defensive awareness is a 7 frame counter. But there's also on top of that, even though they're switching over, there's also a delay on when to skate, because the game doesn't want, in a situation where the timer is pretty short, and if, let's say, the puck was switching back and forth, you'd see your player kind of like jerk around. So they have a delay. It's like an 8 frame delay on top of that before they decide to start skating to where they have to skate. So in the grand scheme of things, it's like a 23 frame delay versus a 15 frame delay before they start to skate.
So 3/4 of a second versus half a second. Right? People were talking 30 frames per second with the Genesis, at least in North America. I don't know if the PAL version of Genesis is any different. I'm talking about the NTSC. By the way, is it just? And I'm curious, is the PAL version of Genesis any different in terms of the frame output?
I have no idea, but usually all the Genesis games are slower because they run on the 50 hertz refresh rate. So unless the game is optimized for PAL region, which is European, everywhere. I mean, NTSC is only United States and Japan.
29 points. Yeah.
And
now, sorry.
Well, that's the 29 point. That's the frame.
The refresh rate.
That's the interlaced. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You put two interlaced frames to make a single frame. Go ahead.
I want to go back to this. So then there is a huge difference to do with forward and defensemen when you're talking about their actual ratings, because you were talking that defensemen, they look at the offensive awareness when the puck's in. So when you're forming a team, I mean, I'm not going to ask you on a personal level. Is this something, after looking at all this code here and looking what's under the hood, does it make a difference for you when you're comparing player A to player B? Are you now looking at offensive and defensive awareness when you're trying to select a guy?
I wouldn't call it so I always thought awareness was very important. The offensive awareness of the player might be a little bit more important. For that special case I was explaining before, the nearest to the puck, I could go into more detail with that. But as far as I always thought awareness was one of the most important attributes. It's, to be honest with you, the difference in the timer to me is not very much. So like a 6 compared to a 4 in offensive and defensive awareness is probably, you're not going to notice. I don't think you're really going to notice a difference there. Yeah. So, I mean, we basically learned what awareness does, and I would say it's not as important as some people think it was.
So exploiting your opponent that does have a lower or higher defensive, it's going to be very difficult. So the way I'm gathering it, it's such a minute advantage or disadvantage that it's just hard to take advantage in, especially during the average flow of the game. Like, it's just hard to, yeah.
That's exactly it. I mean, there might be some situations where, if the puck is getting turned over and all of a sudden the puck gets turned over again, you get the puck back, right? In that situation, you might see a difference where your player's probably still skating back to play defense, and it's going to take them a little bit to come back to play offense. So in that case, you might see a difference between like a 3 defensive awareness to a 6 or a 5. But I think in most cases, like you said, the general flow of the game, I don't think it's going to be that noticeable.
And you also throw in online play where you have latency issues. It's even more difficult to exploit.
It's a whole different ball game there.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, it's just the reality of it. And it's, it just makes it more challenging to play. In terms of the puck, player closest to the puck, does this only apply? This is going to be a really dumb question. To the actual player closest, like if it's a human controlled player, does that then override everything and there's no quote unquote closest player to the puck? Or is there always going to be a closest player to the puck regardless if it's human or not? Does the computer then get to the next player that's AI controlled and make that the next player that's closest to the puck?
Yeah. So remember, this is all logic for CPU control players, right?
Right.
So in any case, a controller controlled player or joypad controlled player, let's call it that way, that overrides everything. They don't get any of those things, right? In the case of the closest player to the puck, it's going to switch. It'll switch off to a different player. Let's say, what'll happen is, let's say you switch over and you're controlling now the player closest to the puck, right? In that case, once you start moving away, it'll switch over. But if you chose the player who's nearest to the puck, you're kind of stuck there, unless there's the other players are just playing regular defense in that situation. And this is very important because the player who's closest to the puck gets specific abilities. So, we talk about checking, right? You could boost, usually to check a player, there's a couple different ways you could check them. You could hold them, call it the hold check. You can poke check them, or the game calls it a sweep check, the code, or you can burst check, right? So that's in Genesis, that would be using the C button. Super Nintendo, you'd be using the A button, the shooting button, to give your player a speed burst and a smack into, some unsuspecting player, right? The only CPU players that are allowed to check are defensemen playing defense and the player who has the nearest assignment assigned to them. Those are the only three players on defense who are allowed to check, or when the puck is loose too, because like I said, that's considered everyone's on defense there. Only the defensive team gets the nearest player assignment. An offensive team doesn't get it, but if the puck is loose, they both teams will have a player that has that assignment. And not only depending on where the puck is too, this is important on defense. So if you're you're the defending team, and the other team has a player controlling the puck, and if they're in the slot area, the player with the nearest to the puck assignment will get double checking rating.
Oh.
So if they have like a 3 check rating, it gets boosted to a 6. And they also get a speed boost of about 1.4 to their attribute. So if they're a 4-speed skater, they're now a 5.2. It's a 5.2 speed skater. It would be. So it's a 1.2 boost. No, but it's also it's a 1.2 speed boost. So it's 5.2. They would get that while the puck is in the slot area. So this is to help play defense better. That player will become more aggressive, and so they'll attempt to either check, or they're going to attempt to position themselves in the proper spot. That's the other point of the nearest assignment. If they're not checking, they try to stay between the goal line and the puck carrier until they decide to check.
And a joypad control player doesn't get this type of boost whatsoever.
Nope.
So it's just the
Only
AI
the CPU player.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And to define what is the slot, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, because you've seen the code. We're talking in between the hash marks, or is it?
Yeah. So the slot, what the game considers a slot, is very large. If you draw imaginary lines from the face-off dots that are outside the blue line, so the 2 neutral zone face-off dots, right, that are right outside the blue line.
Yeah.
You drew a line from the inside of those and went straight back to the boards or the goal line. If you went straight back to the goal line, that whole center area is considered the slot.
It's just about the whole.
That's what the game considers.
Zone.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, it's just the easiest way for them to code it, I guess.
Oh my god, that defender, keep drinking, Chaos, because we got a long way to go on this one. I appreciate you taking time to talk about this. I find this stuff to be absolutely fascinating. So even with all this being said, does this change your style of play any which way, shape, or form? Is it like you mentioned?
It does. I'll explain. I think the checking attribute, right, is its main purpose is to determine how aggressive the player is. So there's also an aggression attribute, but the aggression attribute is really used for determining if there's going to be a penalty or not on a check or in other situations. But it's always to deal with the penalties. The checking attribute it's used in a lot of situations. It determines if the player is going to throw a check. It could be part of the checking calculation. Whereas, are you going to have a successful check or not? And so I think checking rating is the checking attribute is actually probably one of the most important in the game, because you have a player with a high check attribute playing defense, like Ray Bork, for instance, he has the highest in the game. He has a 6. He's going to be pretty aggressive. And, usually you don't even have to, you won't have to select him to use him as a player. You could just let him do his thing, and he's just going to knock people over like crazy because he's an aggressive player. Ulf Samuelsson is another one. He's a 5 checking.
Scott
Stevens. Yeah. So, there's a few who have that really high check rating. Now, if those players have the nearest assignment assigned to them, right, they can't maximize. They can't go past 6. So a player with a 3 check rating all of a sudden temporarily becomes a 6 check rating, right? So now just in the slot area, they'll become more aggressive. But another thing, remember, I said the nearest is assigned to the closest player to the puck when the puck is loose, right? And so if the puck is loose, usually a player with a high check rating, they might, instead of going for the puck like they're supposed to, they might check the other player who's coming towards the puck. They'll get more aggressive like that. So, maybe having like an Esatikanen who has, he's a 5 checker too. Having him on the wing might be good because you might want to have, one aggressive winger to throw his body around, one of your other guys, and you can skate over and pick up the puck while he's too busy checking other people. But so it's I think to me, check attribute is probably, from looking at the code, I think that's gone up my priority list as far as player attributes.
Is there anything else on this particular, because I want to exhaust this in totality, but you still you've gone through this, and I'm sure you must have something else that you discovered that I'm not going to be able to ask the right question, but is there anything else that you want to just bring up to our attention with respect to player assignments and awareness?
Oh, I can bring up a lot here.
I'm good, man. Let's rock and roll. We'll do this till 3 o'clock in the morning. We have to.
Sure. I mean, okay. So let's talk about the I think the default assignments for offense and defense. Center, we can go with the center. You were talking about earlier, if you're a team shooting at the bottom net, and now your team has to start playing defense. Let's say you turn the puck over. Your center is skating all the way to where your defensemen are in the defensive zone. That's a bug. So it should be, so when you're defending, when you're shooting the top and you're defending the bottom, defensively the center is supposed to stay near the blue line when the puck is inside the other player's defense. So when the puck's still in your offensive zone, but you don't possess it, right? The center will come over the blue line and defend there. And then what he does is, as the player skating with the puck starts to move forward, the center will stay in between a specific distance in between the puck carrier and like the high slot area. A high slot area meaning over the blue line. You can actually look at like the reflection of the lights on the ice, and you could look at, maybe, I think he's like the second light in. He'll usually hang out in that area. So between there and the puck carrier, he's trying to stay halfway. And but the puck carrier, he won't go past that spot in his defensive zone. What's happening? So that's normal operation for center on defense. When you're shooting down and you're defending up, there's a problem in the code. There's a bug. Instead of doing it that way, it kind of works the opposite. So he'll start, instead of starting at the blue line, he'll start in his defensive zone and he'll start to skate toward the puck carrier. And you can get into a situation where the puck carrier will be over center ice and the center will be past him, closer to the net that he's shooting at than the puck, than staying in between the puck and his own net to play defense. Yeah. He's the only one that has that bug though, the center. The wingers operate normally, defensemen operate normally. It's just it's very strange.
I got two questions just based off this. Number one, has there been a talk anywhere to say, can we have a fix to this bug? or is this like nobody gives
No,
a
this
rat's
bug is
ass?
actually very easy to fix. I
But
could
has
fix it
anybody
very
asked you to
easily.
fix it? And then let's employ this for one of the leagues, or has
Oh
anybody
yeah,
said,
absolutely.
"Oh, okay,
It's weird because I don't know if people prefer that. If maybe they prefer their center to be all the way back.
it's one
Um,
more defensive piece, I guess." And
exactly, yeah. So you just leave your wingers to pretty much give a forecheck. Um, the yeah, it's it's just one of those things. When I came across it, I'm like, why are they doing it? And then I'm like, it's got to be it's a bug because, like I
so,
said, the
in
other
those
way makes
periods
more sense.
that you're going down, are you
Mhm.
changing your philosophy with how you deal with the centerman? Are you
Yes,
trying to? Yeah, so I'm assuming at that
I
point,
am.
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and are you trying to carry the puck with him a little bit more to try to get him into the offensive zone, and then maybe pass it off to a winger? In that case, he's not going to flow back all the way. He's going to be an offensive piece, an active offensive piece in the play. Am I correct?
Yeah. Well, so in a situation where there's a turnover, right? Let's say you have the puck in the offensive zone and you turn it over. You're shooting down, right? This is only when you're
Yeah,
shooting down, right? Shooting down. Um, you have the puck in the offensive zone. You turn it over. The other team gets the puck. Immediately, your center's going to start skating. You're not going to see him. He's
yeah,
going off the screen. So usually, what I've been trying to do is grab him. So I'll
yeah,
make sure I switch to him and then kind of bring him back or control him at least. Um, because that's exactly the problem. What'll happen is, um, let's say you turn the puck. Let's say you turn the puck over, right? The other team has it, but then you get the puck back. Your center, your centerman's all the way in La La Land. He's got to skate all the way back to get back into the play offensively. And so, sometimes that's nice because no one's paying attention to him. He just skates in, you pass it to
yeah,
him, one time or whatever you're going to do with him. You might get a really nice open shot. But that's certain cases. Most of the time you want that guy down there already and you got to wait
yeah.
for him. So,
Are you also changing like when you're going down? Because I'm going to go into a tangent here. Lately, I've been playing a lot more with a guy just with a heavier shot in the center. I don't care about his weight.
mhm.
I do care to a degree about his speed and agility, but now when I'm shooting down, a guy that has big guy with lower agility and lower speed, he's gonna have a really difficult time to turn it around and reorient the tracks to point towards the net he's going to be shooting at. So are you changing your strategy where you're putting on a guy that's maybe a little bit faster in the times that I'm reading too much into this, but it seems like it's a huge disadvantage at times if you have just a wrong guy playing center and the puck is
Oh,
loose.
absolutely. Yeah. Do how am I taking so this is another situation, right? The faster skaters, remember I was explaining to you how they skate to a spot, right? Inside a box, their randomized area. The faster skaters usually overskate. And so there's a delay when they're skating to check if they've gotten to their position. Uh, and the delay is 12 frames. So every 12 frames it's checking. Did you get there? Did you get there? Did you get there? No, keep skating, right? A faster skater is going to fly past. There are times they'll fly past where they're supposed to skate to, and they'll have to turn around and get back and kind of settle down, right? A slower skater doesn't have that kind of issue. It's just they're going to get there. It's going to take them longer to get there, but usually they don't overskate. Uh, so as far as like what you want at a center, yeah, you have this disadvantage. You have that bug when you're shooting down, but um, are you gonna is that gonna really change how you want to play? The type of player you want to put in center. You usually want some guy with a good shot because they're gonna have great one-timer chances.
Yeah.
Um, and to be honest with you, I don't want a fast guy at center because I don't want him overskating. I want him to be where I want him to be. And I'd rather have like someone like a 4-speed is probably perfect. Like a 5-speed or a 6-speed is they're just way too fast. I think a lot of times they overskate and they got to turn around again, and then they may overskate again, and then there's a little bit of like zigzagging coming back until they finally get to where they got to be. Uh, So yeah, I actually prefer at center. I would prefer like a 4-speed. Someone with a 4-shot power or a 5-shot power. I think is pretty good. That's what I
Now
prefer.
there's a winger, and sometimes this happens. I don't. You must have seen this, and I want to see if you could pinpoint
Mhm.
why this happens. A winger, when I'm on the offensive zone, when I have the puck, there are times I have a winger that goes right to the edge of the crease, and it's a
Mhm.
perfect one-timer opportunity. Then there are times that same winger is almost near the boards, and he's just out of the play. You can pass to him, but he's definitely not going to be able in a position to take a shot and score a goal.
Mhm.
Why does this happen? Why does the same dude from one play to the next set up perfectly, and then another time just set up awfully, in my opinion?
Sure. Yeah. So the winger on offense, when the puck is in the offensive zone, they're going to skate to a box. That box is very wide. It's exactly how you explained it. It's to the edge of the crease, and it's almost all the way to the board. The position inside that box is randomized. Now, you can play with the position. If you don't like where they're sitting, you can either cross the blue line with the puck or cross the goal line with the puck. So when you cross the goal line and you come back, when the puck is below the goal line, so in the offensive zone, right, you're past the net. Let's say you're shooting top, you're past the net. The wingers go to a different spot, so they reset a different zone. They're in a different zone. Then I think it's a little bit tighter, and it's usually a little bit closer to the goal line. But if you see back into your back over the goal line, back into like the larger offensive zone area, right? That'll just reset the RNG, and they'll go to a different spot in their usual box. So you can manipulate them. If you don't like where they're sitting, just take the puck across the goal line, come right back with it, and they'll reposition themselves. Same thing with the center. The center does the same.
Okay. Good tip. I
When you come
appreciate
back
that.
over, they're assigned a different position in that zone they're supposed to be in. So yeah, you can do that.
So it has nothing to do with their attributes. It's sheer luck
No,
based on.
it's luck.
Okay. Now I know.
All luck. Yeah, I think
Okay.
for a long time we thought awareness played into that factor, but no, it doesn't. It's pure luck. It's all RNG. There's assigned a zone, and it's RNG inside that zone.
Very cool. Now, the next one I have. What happens during a breakaway? Because you mentioned that they change. There's a different way of dealing with it defensively. I guess even offensively in a breakaway. So maybe you could break that down for me.
Yep. Okay. So the breakaway is like a kind of like a special situation, right? The player on defense that's closest to the puck will always just go for the puck carrier. Um, the breakaway ends when the puck carrier stops traveling in the Y direction. So let's say they slow down. If they slow down past 0, so they basically stop or they start skating in the opposite direction, there's no more breakaway. It's over. So you have to keep skating with momentum in the Y direction as an offensive player, right? To continue having that breakaway possibility. Um, the the player who's playing defensively, right? And this is for even if player controlled player or whatever. There's specific zones. Whereas if you throw a check and you hit the player, um, there's a higher probability of giving the other team a penalty shot. So the closer you get to the net, the more guaranteed. The closer that puck carrier gets to the net, and you hit the puck carrier, regardless if it's a failed check or just a regular check, you knock them down or you don't knock them down. You have a much higher probability of getting a penalty shot called on you. Then so there's one zone very close to the net, and then there's a larger zone kind of covering the face-off circles, and then there's a zone after that. So the closer you get, the higher the chances of getting a penalty shot called on you. So you want to be careful. But again, you could also pay attention and see when they start skating sideways, because once they're skating across the ice, they don't have any more of that Y velocity. So therefore the breakaway ends, and then you could smack into them as much as you want, and it'll just be normal situation. The CPU player on a breakaway, as like I said, there you go.
I was trying to pull it up, and
the middle area is smaller. Yeah. So the red area is danger zone, yellow caution, and then the green is not all go. It's just a.
This is a brilliant breakdown, by the way.
Thank you.
This image that you created, I think it was you that created. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it was absolutely brilliant, and this illustrates exactly what you're talking about and where the danger zone is when you're defending and doing any sort of action where you're going to interact with the offensive player, where you could cause a penalty shot to be called.
Yep. Yeah. So the player nearest to the puck will also get the same, as long as there's a puck carrier, they get that double check bonus. They get that speed bonus on defense. So if the defender's trailing behind, right, they're going to get that bonus to catch up. Yeah, if you want to pull up, you could probably pull up the zones too, if you wanted to. The winger zones. That's the breakaway breakdown. So in the area right above the blue line, there's a smaller chance of getting a penalty shot called on you, and then the green, it's a little bit larger. The yellow is a little bit larger, and then the red is like probably a 1 in 3 chance you're getting a penalty shot called on you.
All right, so let's dive deep into this one. This is the breakdown of the offensive, and I guess even defensive zone too, right? Like it could also be broken down into that. Either way, I'm going to pass it over to you, to Maestro here.
Sure. Now, this is how the center plays offense. Okay. So if you look at the large shaded area, so the center shooting up here on all these zone images, the team offensively is going towards the top net. So you see the very large shaded area in the offensive zone here. Yeah, that's considered the slot. And then you'll see you'll see the one box that's, the one box that is a skinny rectangle, and then the other size box. In the offensive zone, you see how.
Okay, so you got this reddish and then a bluish.
Yeah, so the bluish is the center's normal position when the puck is in the offensive zone, and the reddish box is when the puck is past the goal line. Okay, so in that case, the center might go wider out from their usual position.
And like I said, so many times I've seen that. You're right.
Yeah. And the so the yellow box is where the center will sit when the puck is in the neutral zone. They want to skate to that area, and they'll randomize their position inside that yellow box. And then the darker box is when the puck is in the defensive zone.
That's where they should be going.
Well, no, this is when you have the puck. So if you have the puck in your defensive zone, the center is going to be in between the two face-off dots randomly. Okay. But yeah, also defensively, that's where the center usually is.
Unless you flip it around, then it's
flip it exactly.
Because then he goes in front of his own net. Right?
So that's the center zones there. Like I said, the bottom one is when you have the puck in your defensive zone. The yellow is when you're in the neutral zone. And the other two is when it's in the offensive zone. The red is when it's behind the goal line for the center.
Got it.
The next one is the wingers. So the left wing and right wing doesn't matter. They're just mirror. It's just mirrored, right? So we'll start on the bottom. If the puck is in the defensive zone, they're going to be in one of these darker boxes, your left wing and the right wing, right? So very small boxes. So if you notice, like between where the wingers and the center are, they're usually just always in that. Yeah. There's boxes kind of touch each other on the inside. So you're usually going to have players in that area right there. And then when the puck's in the neutral zone, they're going to be in the yellow boxes. So a little bit wider. And again, this is CPU controlled player. So when you have the puck and you're not one of your wingers, This is where they're going to go. When the puck enters the offensive zone, the blue boxes are where the wingers are going to go. So you'll see there's a very large area that they cover that they could randomly be positioned in. And then the reddish boxes are when the puck is over the goal line. So they get a little bit lower. So, for instance, if you're carrying the puck behind the net, your wingers will get closer to the goal line to give you better passing options when you're behind the net.
Mhm.
They'll spread out a little bit more and, give you a better outlet for a pass.
What happens when the puck gets in this area, the unshaded area?
Well, when the puck is anywhere in the offensive zone other than past the goal line, they're going to be in the blue boxes.
Got it. Okay.
Also, it's also important to note when the players are skating offensively, your team has the puck. They're designed to specifically avoid the puck carrier. So if let's say you were your center, you were your center, right? And you have the puck and you skate towards where your winger is going to move out of the way because he wants to get away from you. It doesn't want to be in your way. So offensively they do this. Defensively they don't. They get in your way, but not on purpose. They're just always not where you want them to be, right? So yeah, if you're a center and you're skating towards that left face-off dot, skating going up towards your offensive zone and you're in the neutral zone, your winger's probably going to skate more inward towards center, towards the split center and X to give you space to skate. And same thing in the offensive zone. It's whenever you have the puck. They try to avoid you.
Got it.
Not just the wingers, that's all the players on your team when you have the puck. So that's another way to kind of manipulate them. Let's say, your winger's in the spot, you don't really like him. We'll skate towards him and then he'll start skating somewhere else. He always wants to get back to that spot, but as long as you're over there, he's not going to go back over there.
And the centers, that also applies to the center. So if you have the puck
Yes.
with the winger and you go, okay.
Yeah. They want to try and avoid. They want to try and avoid you. Yeah. If you're skating towards them.
Got it.
You could sit next to them. Like if you're not skating, you're not skating towards them, right? So you could have guys sit right next to you, but once you start skating at them, they're going to start skating away from you.
Got it.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's dive into this picture.
So this is an example of the offensive assignment for defensemen. And so you'll see how Neely skates to the left, and you'll see how the right defenseman skates towards the center of ice, but once the puck crosses center, he skates backward.
So he's going to get right up to that center, and he doesn't want to go any further. That's his.
Yeah, he doesn't want to get any further. So he skates back to a starting position, and then he'll start to inch up more towards the center again. So you'll see how he skates back, and then he skates back to the left. That's where he wants to be. He wants to be closer to the middle, but once the puck crosses over, he has to reset. And so he'll skate back to like what the initial position for a defenseman is. And then he'll start skating back to the left again. So it's kind of like counterintuitive, right? Because he could probably just stay there, but he doesn't. That's not how they're programmed. He has to skate back to a default spot before he's like, oh wait, there's the puck again. I got to start skating. So that's actually offensive awareness right there.
By the way, I have to just point out, I love the team selection here. You did the right, obviously a power. You had to do this. In order to capture this footage, you needed a crappy team, crappy AA team.
Yes.
Florida's as crappy as they got.
This is yeah. I needed a slow skating team.
They are that, yeah. Never Anaheim.
These guys can't get in my way.
Yeah.
So that shows what the defensemen do on offense when you're in the offensive zone. Okay, so this photo here is, again, the puck was turned over in the offensive zone. This is Ottawa here, Ottawa versus Detroit. So Jamie Baker, who's the center, is at the blue line. His team is shooting up and they're defending down. This is where you want to be. if you're a center. So he's in this area between the face-off dots. Those, it's kind of like that. That's the offensive. And defensive, the defensive assignments are a little bit more reactive to where the puck is. There's no specific, like, they'll be like in a spot, but they usually want to stay halfway between the puck and center in X. So you'll see where Jamie Baker is, and you see where the puck is.
There.
Let's say if you drew an imaginary line from the center of the goal, right? He's in the middle. He's keeping his spot there. And so it's actually like a common theme when playing defense is they want to stay halfway in between center of the rink in X and where the puck is. So he's in the right spot here. So now let's look at the next one. And
who are you, Jamie? There you are.
all the way back there. He's even past his defenseman.
I was just going to say that his defenders, which are slow as molasses, one being Shaw, got past him. And this happens every time that there's the pucks in. It's when the pucks. Forgive me. It's either in the opposing team's possession, or if it's no possession at all. That's when this takes place.
Yes. If he's not in the nearest assignment, if he's not closest to the puck, he's now playing center defense. He's playing center defense, and he's going back. Yeah,
exactly. He's screening his goalie.
He's screening his goalie.
Yeah, that's an oddity. I don't know what to say. It's very strange, but that's all right.
That's a bug.
All right. I think, did we exhaust this topic in totality, or is there anything else?
No.
Go on, man.
Let me send you. All right. So this was defense. That was all of offense, right?
Oh, there it is.
There it is. Okay.
Should have went on the wrong screen.
No, it's okay. Okay. So we see here, we see Boston's defenseman, right? And you see they're skating back and forth. Well, they're reacting to the winger in the center of Florida because those guys are skating towards their defensive zone. Defensemen, when they're in the defensive assignment, they don't switch to offensive assignment, even though you had the puck, until you cross your blue line. You're into the offensive zone.
Okay.
So they're still playing defense right now. And they're reacting to the two players that are reacting to Adam Oates, right? But the defenseman if you go back to Def D1, the defensemen for Florida are reacting to the defenseman for Boston because they're skating towards the offensive zone. They're the only two players on Boston that are skating.
Oh, I got it. So the defenders
are
reacting to the other defenders.
Exactly. So because they're skating towards them, the game looks at the velocity of the player and determines who's going to be the biggest threat. So the defensemen for Florida are reacting to the defensemen for Boston.
Right.
Boston, when they skate forward, and then when they skate back, they back off. They go back to playing regular defense.
Oops.
And the defensemen for Boston are reacting to the center and the left wing for Florida because they keep moving back and forth. And the center and the left wing are reacting to Adam Oates. So we're in the situation here where all these players are reacting to different players. Does that make any sense to you?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. All right.
So when the Florida defensemen, when the Florida players, the defensive players are skating up, they're reacting to where Adam Oates is. When they skate backwards, they're reacting to the defenseman of Boston because they're moving forward. And those players are moving forward because of the skating of the center and the left wing for Florida, who are skating forward towards Adam Oates. And Adam Oates is just sitting there doing nothing. So,
all right.
Yeah, so that's what defensemen do. They react to, players that are skating towards them, and they want to position themselves halfway between that player, whether it's a puck carrier or not. Usually they want to do the puck carrier, but if there's a player whose velocity is higher than the puck carrier, and they're skating forward, they're going to react to them instead. And once the puck gets down low, below the face-off circles, below the face-off dots in the offensive zone, the defensemen like to kind of hug closer to the crease. So here, you can't really see them, but they usually kind of stay like halfway in their defensive zone. They don't really come farther back.
He kind of just goes
somewhere in that area.
Yeah,
you see where he's sitting, and then you see them when they skate backwards, they're reacting to the Boston players.
Mm-hmm.
So if you click, if you go to the still shot, there we go. You'll see how the puck is below the face-off dots, and so now, even though he's not reacting, the defenseman for Florida is not reacting to Adam Oates. He doesn't have the nearest assignment. He has his defensive assignment, and he's covering where he is where he's going to stay. Regardless of where that Boston player is, he's going to stay there. When the puck starts, and you'll see he's keeping himself halfway between where the puck is and where the center of his goal is. When the puck starts to move, he's going to react and move more toward, if Adam Oates starts carrying it more towards the center, that right defenseman for Florida is going to start moving closer to the center.
Got it.
And then if Adam Oates crosses over, it switches. The right defenseman will stay in the center, and the left defenseman will keep his distance halfway between the puck carrier and the goal. You'll see right above that circle is a player who has the nearest assignment right now, because he's skating towards Adam Oates, and the puck right now is outside the slot area.
So no boost.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I would have never guessed.
A lot of going on. Listen, there's a lot of skaters, so there's a lot going on.
All right.
Yeah.
That's the next one.
So, got the ass nearest ones are next.
Is it this one?
Yeah, this is good. All right. So in this situation, the Sweeney has the puck right now in his defensive zone, and you'll see the center is in La La Land right now, right?
He's way up here.
The situation, he's way up there. So you'll see right here.
Actually, that's not the center. It's a defender. My bad. Right, the center's probably in front of his net.
Oh yeah. He's all the way up there. Yeah. So these two players here are the wingers, and you'll see the one player skates all the way to the right. You see him skate towards the face-off dot over there. Yeah. So the winger on defense is told to keep his Y position the same as the puck. So that's why you see him skate all the way down in that corner, even though he's not near the puck. He's just supposed to skate and stay with the Y position of the puck.
Okay.
And the other player is he's in the nearest to the puck assignment, right? And you'll see he throws a check. But you'll see him kind of stutter step right in the beginning there. Like you see him turn and then he turns back, right? Because he's switching to, I should stay halfway between the distance. And then he's like, no, I'm going to check. So he made a decision where he's like, or the game made the decision for him. But, it said, all right, no, I'm actually going to pursue the puck carrier, skate to the puck and throw a check instead of just doing my normal nearest to the puck assignment and skate backwards. If he were to fully skate backwards, the other player more than likely would have gotten the nearest to the puck assignment, and then he would have came over and threw a check. Or not, and then it would have switched to the other player. So, you'll actually see that if you hold the puck for a while in your own zone, you'll see the two wingers kind of play a game. Sometimes even the center will get caught in it, and that'll actually keep the center down for you. But so
how much of time have you must have done so much analysis in this type of
All right, we go to the next one now.
That's nearest two.
Yeah, no, this was a lot of time. This is the most complicated assignment, is the nearest assignment. All right. So here we look, everyone's sitting still. You'll see Cam Neely has the puck, and you'll see Ray Bourque, his defenseman, is trying to avoid him. Remember, we were talking about, I was talking to you about wanting to avoid, even though he's sitting still, he's kind of still pretty close. So he skates away from him, but then he wants to skate to the position he's supposed to be in, but then he wants to skate away from him. So you see him go back and forth. So we'll cover Boston right now. You'll also see, see this Boston player. Remember I told you that the players stay in their box, right? Unless you cross a line, and then they react to that. Well, I lied. There's also a very, very, very small chance that the random position will change while the puck is still in the normal offensive zone. It uses the frame counter, and I think it uses like the first 7 bits of the frame counter have to be 0. So there's very, very, the chances are very, very slim, but we actually witness it here. So because the frame counter got into that condition, it will RNG his position in his zone area, that left winger.
So there's some randomness then to this. I mean, it's
slightly,
minute.
it's very, very, yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But like something like that happening is, you probably might see it once every few games. It's probably pretty rare. So anyway, that's Boston, right? So that's a special situation. That doesn't always happen where he changed his position. Usually he should stay where he was. All right. So now let's look at the Florida players. So right now, you see the two of them are just sitting there, right? Now, why are they sitting there? Well, one of them has the nearest assignment, and he's halfway between his goal line and the puck. It's actually not so much halfway. It might be 20 pixels out. I forget. But it's pretty close. So he's just sitting there. He's there every cycle, right? So every cycle of his timer, he's saying, all right, should I check? No, I'm not going to check. Should I check? No, I'm not going to check. Should I check? Okay, now I'm going to check. So then he decides now to pursue the puck carrier. But he doesn't check. He throws a sweep check, which is just a poke check, right? So in reality, there's two things happening here. He's supposed to skate to the puck, and as he gets closer to the puck, there's a chance that he can check, or there's a chance that he doesn't check. But he's still assigned to skate to the puck. And at the end of his skate to the puck routine, he's supposed to poke check, regardless if the puck has a puck carrier or if it's loose. So if the puck was loose, he would do the same thing. That's how he grabs the puck. In this case, there's a puck carrier. So instead of, he's not swinging at a loose puck, he's swinging at the puck carrier, and he jars the puck loose. So he didn't throw a check. He throws a sweep check, which is completely different.
When does the hold come into play? Sometimes CPUs do holds.
Yes.
What's the parameters that have that come into play?
Yeah. So defensemen are going to usually hold. When the puck is in the slot area, they're more likely to hold than to actually check. If there's a puck carrier, usually they want to hold. Now, if they get in that situation where the puck is in the slot and they get the bonus, they're more likely going to throw a regular check. But if the puck's outside the slot, it's usually going to be a hold.
And that applies to
it's an actual check.
And that's both defensemen and also the players nearest to the puck. That's
both defensemen. I don't think the player nearest to the puck, I think they're always going to go for a check.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because I don't recall many forwards, if at all, ever doing a hold. It's always a defender that's doing it.
It's usually defensemen.
Okay,
they love the hold, and it's usually when the puck is outside the zone. And it's very interesting. Next time you see a player hold, there's actually two different hold animations. There's one where they like hold with the stick straight out, right? And then there's another one where they like kind of grab the guy. So you'll see them. It depends where the puck is, what kind of hold hold animation and where they are in location to where the puck carrier is, what kind of hold will do. It's pretty neat. It's a little nuance
Is that
they
strictly
added in.
aesthetics, or does that actually have
no, it's strictly aesthetics. Yeah. It's
Okay.
just there's a lot of things that they added in that I think that was Mark Lesher who added that in, that where they added extra animations just to make the game, a little bit more interesting. That's one of them.
All right.
Okay, so let's go to the next one. All right, so this is your buddy Shaw, and so there's a breakaway. And
I'm forever going to be linked to Bradshaw now.
and you'll see. So the puck, you'll see how he gains extra speed. It might be hard to see, but you'll see right at the end there.
Yeah,
it gets a boost.
Yeah, it was noticeable. Right there.
Yeah, right there. So you see that's him getting his extra speed boost of he gets the plus 1.2 on his attribute. So he's pretty slow to begin with. So he's not skating much faster, but he does get a little bit of a boost.
Yeah, he's almost playable.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bradshaw, if you're watching or listening to this.
There's one more. Number 3.
I missed that.
All right, there we go. Okay, so here we have a loose puck, and so you'll see Cam Neely and I think it's Turgeon. I forget who's playing wing here. Are both skating towards the puck, right? And you'll see Cam Neely just kind of skates into it. Whereas the other guy's trying to check. the Florida, this is Panthers. I'm thinking Ottawa. You see the Florida player kind of try to throw a check there.
Yeah.
Instead of going for the puck. So in that example here, the puck. So this is both these guys have nearest assignment to them. They're both going towards the puck. The puck doesn't have a puck carrier, so they don't get the bonus. That's only when there's a puck carrier and it's in the slot.
Yeah.
So they're just both skating. This is where they're using their offensive awareness, where they say, oh, wait a minute, the puck is loose. Now I got to go skate towards the puck and try to get it. But they will still check. They still have the opportunity to check. And actually, I'm very surprised. Neely has a high check rating, and he doesn't seem to go for the check here. He just seems to kind of like skate right into the puck. So he got pretty lucky. But yeah, I wanted to show you here. You could see the player with the nearest assignment trying to knock Cam Neely down a couple times while he's skating down there.
And do you know that player that's coming down? Is that a winger or is that a defender?
Yeah, so I believe that's going to be a winger. Yeah.
Playing deep.
Maybe it's not a winger. Maybe it's a defenseman. So if we look on the left side here,
that's what I'm trying to decipher. Which one would be the defenders?
It might be a defenseman. I see the other defenseman loop down. See the left one, and then he comes back. That's kind of loops around. That might be the defenseman. So because all those Florida players get that Florida? I think so. Anyway,
either way, they're gonna get terrible boosts from.
They're all the way in the corner there, and then so the defenseman he becomes now the nearest to the puck, right? So he's going to come swinging in and try to get it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the nearest assignments. Yeah, that's basically all the assignments. Some examples there too.
We covered a lot.
That's just assignments.
We're gonna have to break this up into multiple. To be honest, I have. Gosh, I'm gonna see how many points of discussion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 8 or 9 points of discussion. We've been at one for an hour and change.
Well, this is the big one. It's it's the longest one, I would say. The other stuff goes pretty.
Anything else you want to just tie a bow on this one? Is there like something else we're not discussing that should be brought to light?
No, I don't think so. Just like I said, the only players I can check are going to be your defenseman playing defense, which they're always playing defense until you have the puck in the offensive zone. So they won't throw neutral zone checks and stuff like that. And then
The players nearest to the puck.
Player nearest to the puck. Yeah. And the other thing I would say is like aggression and things like that. The aggression is linked. We maybe cover that at another time, but the aggression is linked to penalties. So when you have a successful check and you knock the guy down, you're actually less likely to get a penalty than if you have a failed check. And the aggression comes into play there. And aggression is not affected by any of the other bonuses like hot and cold, things like that. So your aggression's always the same for a player.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's just it's one attribute. And it's never going to change for game.
Never going to change. Nope.
Okay, that's interesting. Because this is going to come into play, I think, for a topic of discussion we'll have down the road, and I think you know what it is. But yeah, you know what? I think it's a good time to end this one because we'll end it here. We'll come back to the next one because this is gonna be a multi-series thing. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Hope you all enjoy it. With that, take care.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the NHL 94 podcast. As I mentioned, this was very video friendly and we didn't give much love to the audio side of things. Did our best, but it's just the nature of the beast given this episode. Big thanks to John, aka Chaos, for coming on. And we do have another one scheduled with him. I already have it recorded. You just have to edit it. And in that, it might be a release of 1 or 2 different episodes. Either way, one of the 2 topics we'll be talking about is something that will pique everybody's interest, I think. At least it piques mine. And you probably know what it's all about. Nonetheless, enjoy, and we'll be back at this very soon. And with that, take care.